The first time I became a business head in my career, I had to lead an all-new, all-male team. Naturally, I chose to make an impression on my alpha underlings by bringing in an elaborately frosted cake, garnished with icing and laden with pink rosebuds for our very first meeting together on a fine Monday morning. All the Rambos in the room clustered around the table, staring with horror at the cake as if it would detonate any second. A few moments ago, these testosterone-infused creatures had been sizing up their opponents and calculating how they would jump over each other's carcasses on their way up the corporate ladder. Now they were internally groaning at the luck of having a female boss who wanted to use them as participants for her kitty party. I ignored their glowering looks as I brightly urged them to dig into the cake and began to quiz them about their weekend. With immense reluctance and much foot dragging, I was allowed a peek into the human beings that lay behind the sharp suits and hungry ambitions that populated the room. Obviously, it was not just friendly conversations and small talk, and we did get to work eventually, much to the men's relief. But every Monday morning, without fail, there would be a cheerful, fruity and flowery cake waiting at the table, signaling both the start of a hard-working week and inviting a freewheeling chat to begin it with. It took many weeks and awkward silences for my macho heroes to reveal their inner softies, but it did happen. The men in the room on that first Monday only saw strangers and competitors when they looked at each other. But over a period of time, they started seeing each other as friends, confidants, and teammates. The cake went on from being an object of scorn to a symbol of community, friendship, and togetherness. Increasingly, I have started noticing that women do a far better job than men in leading teams. That's because of the intricate ways women, irrespective of class, caste, and privilege, need to navigate the world and relationships around them. This gives them a masterclass in dealing with the mercurial moods and assorted needs of team members. For example, women ace at conflict resolution because that's what they've been doing all their lives. Professional success inaccurately leads to an inflation of the ego. But women are thankfully insured against this particular trait too, because women have been trained from birth to see everything from the world's gaze. As a consequence, they have far more empathy in dealing with their teammates and will actually put in the effort to collaborate, to develop the strengths of the team, to cajole and massage egos, to educate them, and to scold them whenever necessary. It is true that there are plenty of bad women team leaders and extraordinarily good male team heads too. But the rigorous social conditioning that both men and women are subject to from childhood makes such cases the exception rather than the rule. In the past 3 decades, many of the teams I have led have disbanded or evolved and changed. Yet my cake meetings have become the subject of folklore, filled with the nostalgia of memories of working together, some of the victories we achieved, the failures we encountered, and the joys and conflicts we shared that powered us through both good and bad times. Good teams do not happen by chance. It takes immense effort, patience, and diplomacy to turn a group of individual stars into a bright galaxy. And I find that women leaders do a far better job of it.